What's up, YouTube? And we're also starting on Instagram, TikTok, various YouTube channels. I'm Yogi Chris, captain of IMC Nation, founder of Ninth Limb Yoga, and this is Elements of AZD's Game. Pick up dating. I forgot the dating hashtag. Acting. Yeah. Essential elements of AZD's game. And who's AZD is the guy that these accounts are grown off of his clips. So maybe you're discovering the stream and you don't know who that is. So briefly, I'll tell you, top player on Earth, as far as I'm aware, and I'm aware of more than probably what you're aware of, as far as who's a player and their real results in life. And that's who I live with here in Las Vegas. Now we lived in San Jose, California for a few years, where he lived for like 30 years of his life. And then we moved here 6 months ago. So little time capsule for everybody. And I'm going to explain one of the main ingredients, which is really everything's so integrated. Originally, IMC Nation, IMC is an acronym for something, and it meant something. It meant something else, and then it changed its name. It stayed IMC, but the letters meant different words. At some point, I come around, and it's integrated martial arts concepts. Okay, actually, that's what it was originally. Later, as a worldwide movement of philosophy, instructions about life, dating, communication, the mind, things like that, became international mental concepts or integrated mental concepts. A lot of words are just interchangeable. And so integrated mental concepts. So integrated, like joined together, woven together, interrelated. The habits and techniques and teachings and everything here that makes up what is now AZD's teachings and his library and what he teaches, they're all integrated. All his stuff is integrated. So it's not, one thing isn't really separate from another. It all matters in the end. But what really matters to get started is just to recognize who he is and how good at game he is. It's so good. Really, really good. It's not just communicating with him in regular situations. His ability really comes to light when a beautiful woman comes around. And the more the merrier. It's it is his character and beliefs and mode of operating, his how he decides to operate or operates, because how much of it do we really decide? So much of it is just a habit. But that's the thing. Everybody operating out of habit. Where'd you get those habits? Who modeled it for you? Who did you mimic? Where did you learn how to interact with women, to interact with money, finances, your own physical body? Like, where did you learn to do that? You think it's just you, but anybody that's anywhere on the personal development path, just even the very beginning, should be able to recognize that. And that's usually what gets people started on personal development. It's like, why the fuck am I this way? Like so. Did you ever think, why are you that way? Or everybody on the Zoom. Or for myself, why am I this way? Or better, more accurately put, why do I act this way? Habits, where'd they come from? So, the people on the personal development journey have decided they want to change their habits. Maybe they haven't heard that terminology or don't think of it in those terms, but that's what you're doing. You're trying to change in a way that you're not changing without the personal development, content out there. So, it's kind of baffling when you see someone very skilled at getting women to a regular guy, because you don't really see much outside of your paradigm. You might see other guys, and maybe you're around somebody who's very successful with women, but it's very, the word that came to me is very satanic, but it's very in the matrix how they do it. They make a bunch of money, great. They're super handsome, cool. They're like celebrity of some sort, got it. Status, power, okay. I get that game. I get it that's the game, Some things I can control in that, some things I can't. But it always seemed to make sense. The guy who was getting women, I see why they get it. Not because of their game, but because they're so handsome, they're so rich, they're so this, they're that. They're so famous. But then when you see someone who's not that famous, not that rich, kind of ugly and, you know, borderline hostile and just on the edge of what's even acceptable. And then you see the success with women is beyond everybody who it made sense for. The celebrities, it's like too many beautiful women, too much. It's like Playboy style, but not Playboy. There's no Playboy going on. It's like, you know, Larry Flint, but no magazine with nudity. And then you observe it up close and you see it's baffling because it's like it's literally like a code hacker where it's like it doesn't fit the rules if you learned the rules, the official rules, because somehow the code you computer hack it and it's like you can make it do something that it wasn't designed to do, but it can because the rules are there. It's just you got to bend them or say it in a way that takes advantage of something that wasn't accounted for when the code was written or something like that. So the code of social dynamics pick up relationships with women has a lot to do like that. Got to go. See you. Yeah. That's amazing. And then you, of course, see it's just a guy with two arms, two legs, English. Like you could do that too. It's the same. Like he doesn't have a third arm, and to do game, you have to have three arms. You know, he's not obscenely tall, anything. It's within the realm of human genetics, but just with the words, which comes from the imagination, that reveals a certain belief structure and a certain set of ideas about how to conduct oneself, how to respond to life. When she says this, you do that. Why? When she's beautiful, you do this, but when she's less beautiful, you do it this way. What? You actually have that belief structure to discern beauty in a woman and treat them differently? And it works by evidence that you have all these relationships. They are the most desirable women. Maybe not the most desirable, but it's at that level. Maybe you don't desire them the most, but dude, deny that they're at that level. That a girl with a similar flavor, just maybe different personality, maybe a little bit different features, but at that level of beauty, you would want that. I'm not saying that my teacher and friends, AZD's girlfriends, are the most desirable women on the planet. What I'm saying is they're at the level of the most desirable. Well, what does that mean at the level? That means maybe I would prefer a different one. And so I can always back out of that condition as a person viewing, be like, they're not the most. They're ranked number 10. I know 9 women more beautiful than them on earth. Bro, that means they're at that level. Or whatever. You might deny it's just not my flavor. Like blonde or something. I don't know who doesn't like a blonde, but maybe somebody doesn't. They're a deny. You know, a brainwashed fool would be like, I don't like blondes. Every race, every ethnicity likes a blonde woman. You know, fair skinned blonde woman. That's like a desire in every. So why? That's genetic, bro. Deny it. Like what the fuck? You're trying to overwrite your DNA story with some mental story about why you wouldn't be into blondes or something. And that's where people are. They're in a matrix of their own words and stories that have been told to them. That's where people get the information. Act this way with a woman, act that way, do this, do that. It was words and then seeing it done. And that's where people got it modeled. And then they see a guy that's so incredible at it and it's baffling. It's like, wow, I could do that. And then it's broken down as a system of game. Now, when you zoom in on this system of game, it's like not like any other game you've seen. Yeah, there are some similarities with the more successful pickup mystery method and whatever. Like the similarities are here because it was learned from that. But there's so much else other than that. That's like I don't know a good analogy for that, but it's more quantum. It's more imagination, mindset. It is inner game with the proper outer game uh just structure of seeing how to interact with women that makes them attracted to you, that makes them comfortable with you, that makes them seduced by you. There is a general structure you can look at that works with that. But then the actual how to do that is so infinite. So many for example, the first step in pickup would be to open a woman. You got to open a conversation with her. It starts with, you're not going to seduce a woman from 0 to hero, never exchanging words. So at some point, it's going to start. And there's now that you know that that's the absolute structure, there's no way around that. You can't miss step 1 of courtship. Open the conversation, open the communication, open it so that you're not connected. Connect the communication and open it so that it goes both ways. Not just you're saying hi and she walks away. You didn't open her. You say hi, she says hi back. It's open. It's got to start there. Now that you know that that's an unavoidable step, cannot avoid it in courtship. You want to find a wife, you want to have 1,000 girlfriends, you want to whatever with the opposite sex. It starts with the open. Now, you can't avoid that. There's infinite ways to do it. Infinite. How many ways can you open a conversation with a woman? So knowing that there's infinite ways, AZD comes in with the teachings, all these imagination mindset teachings, so that you can access the right decisions that are the best openers. Not because they're so premeditated, but because you learn to tap into the moment and then artistically express in a way that aligns with the structure of how it should be done. Mystery's method and evolutionary psychology, and how openers are done, how demonstrations of value are done, how it's everything. How to qualify a woman so she feels unique, how to build comfort, trust, rapport, and connection with a woman. And when we're talking evolutionary psychology, we're talking the traits and characteristics that have made life succeed up until now, regardless of alien engineering or God intervention 6,000 years ago or whatever. Since then, the code of relationships that has resulted in the human race flourishing is what's programmed, hardwired into our evolutionary psychology. So to understand that is just to understand the direction of the current, to feel the river flowing, because the DNA river is getting us to do this, and this is what works. When we find big titties attractive, there's a reason. When she finds power and authority attractive, there's a reason. And it goes back to genetics and how humans proceeded through evolution. So they're the winning indications, the indications that more than the other indications would indicate that that person's going to survive and thrive well. In men and women, it's expressed differently in men and women. What makes a man look like he survives and thrives well is different than what makes a woman look like she survives and thrives well. Everybody has good hygiene, everybody's groomed, everybody's this and that. There are commonalities, but it's the differences that attract. I don't need to talk about how I'm so similar to a woman if I'm going to talk about dating and attraction. It's the opposites. I'm also super, super similar to chimpanzees. But it's not, the similarities are informative. But it's the differences. If I really wanted to understand chimps, I would have to understand how I'm different from them, to what to do with them. Right? So you need both, actually, similarities. But what you need is discernment. What's similar, what's different between men and women. So there's the DNA code, and it's called antiquity, like the history and beyond. History and prehistory and everything. Humans mated, they went through a process that they didn't codify it like this. They didn't talk about it like open, DHV, neg, qualify, comfort building. Like that's recent that somebody codified the courtship process. But the courtship process is what has worked and meaning it results in offspring that survive, who themselves have offspring that survive, who themselves have offspring that survive. The strongest genetic lines that still exist, they were courtship. Yeah, there was rape and shit that happened throughout history. But overall, mostly, it's a courtship process. And maybe a lot of intervention from church and family and all sorts of things, culture and everything intervened. It wasn't pure and innocent, but the evolutionary psychology reveals what is actually attractive and results in relationships, successful relationships between people. Even if they can't exemplify it. The authors and whatever of evolutionary psych books, they can't have a healthy relationship. Psychologists can't have a healthy relationship. They suck by evidence. But they do uncover truths in their observations and, results and things. So AZD's game aligns with the evolutionary psych, obviously, and the mystery method and other elements of game that work, right? So there's a structure that works. Now access infinity and artistically gain a sense of aesthetic about your expression. It's not enough just to see a beautiful tapestry. You got to paint a beautiful tapestry. And it can't just be you appreciating your beautiful tapestry. I mean, it can be, but that's not going to be successful in the tapestry business or the art business or anything. It won't be successful in life. You'll just make a tapestry that only you like. So make a tapestry, you got to see it and make it. So you got to see the right way of interacting with women, and then you got to be able to do it and create the result that you're going for. How do you create the result? That's a effect that you create with your expression, with your communication, with your beingness, your wardrobe and avatar and everything, your smell, your whole five senses and beyond communication of yourself is your tool to seduce. Seduce happens in the mind of the person. You don't force them, you seduce them so that they maneuver their being and their situation in your favor, in what you want. Seduce, you move people through the mind, and it's, yeah. So there you go. So you need a system to know what's aligned with the genetic river, the current of the DNA that's telling your body to do this or that. Then you need a communication that expresses your understanding in a way that gets what you want. You're a selfish creature. You want what you want. So it's not enough just to know the evolutionary psyche. You got to know what to communicate to make it work in your favor. Otherwise, you're just a nerd who read pills on evolutionary psych and mating psychology, but you can't get the result. Where's the result? The result is in everything. That's important here. So then, to get the result, it's one thing to know the system of how to do it. Let's say you have a pickup structure and you know how to run some pickup and you get some results with women. Now, you may not be being authentic. Probably not. And this is regardless of if you learned pickup or whatever. Guys that didn't learn pickup, they're still not being authentic with women. They'd be saying totally different things if they're being honest and authentic. And honestly, when I meet a beautiful woman, I may want to say some absurd things that put my foot in my mouth. So it's not honest in the sense that I'm saying rude things. It's honest because I know the score. I know what's happening. Okay, she's there. I'm here. I know how she's going to perceive what I'm going to say to some degree. So I shouldn't say this or this or this when I mean this. I don't need to be literal because honestly, I know better. So it wouldn't be honest of me to be literal. I need game. I need understanding of her psychology. So what I say, well, it gets her to do what I want. Now, ethically, in the long term, if you're getting women to do what you want and it lowers their survival, then you have some checks and balances to measure in you. Is it worth it for you? At higher and higher levels, it's never worth it for you. You don't drop a woman's value to get with you for your own sense pleasure, because that's stealing. Why are you stealing her value? She's supposed to take your value. That's what I'm actually offering. She's offering her replication value, but I can't make it so that she survives. Now, if she comes around, she, does, and then later she leaves and does some things that tries to steal my value, not what I'm willingly give her, but destroy my reputation or something like that, then I will take from her value. Then I'll destroy her reputation, of course. But if she gets with you and then for whatever reason you're no longer together or whatever, or she's with you or whatever, you can't take away from her survival value to be with you. You could, but you're going to face something in your life that's going to stall you and you won't progress very well, because there's the code of ethics is, again, it's like the code of pickup. Like, I didn't write these rules. So I just got to adhere to them. It's not in my control. So courtship, it's not in my control that I'm going to have to open the girl if I want to have some sexual relationship with her, because you can't not. So I can't avoid that rule. So I got to figure out a way to do it. And so I didn't write the code of ethics, like what right and wrong is. And so if you do wrong, you'll feel bad. And sometimes people do wrong before they even know that it's bad. And then they find out it's bad and then they'll feel bad about it. But that's called ignorance. So I didn't write the rules of right and wrong. But if I do wrong, I feel bad. If I do right, I feel good. So if I want to feel good, I should just learn the code and do it. And any ignorance, that's got to get eradicated. It's not going to eradicate just because I complain about it. I got to stay present, be aware, because you can catch things as you do them. And then there's a certain level of unconsciousness that may always be there, but that's what you're seeking to wake up. But you got to stay as aware and present as you can now so that you catch your mistakes sooner before you make them, as you think them, or before you think them. You start to get more and more aware of your process that leads to, out ethics or good ethics. Then that's necessary, again, an ingredient on this path. And I started this whole talk with the ingredients for AZD game. Terrible title because I barely talked about that. I was all going to talk about the private moment. And this is a process passed down to Arash from his teacher, Manu, his late teacher, acting coach. And, great individual. From everything I hear, Manu Chipo was incredible. And there's a whole lineage there that we won't get into. But this technique is the first in a series or chain of techniques that build on each other and are integrated with each other. So it doesn't have to go in a linear way. You do kind of circle back and they all improve each other. For example, after private moment would be communing with nature. It doesn't have to be the second one. It could be throwaway monologue. So let's say throwaway monologue and communing with nature. When you do each of those, your private moment gets better. You actually need the private moment to do those. But you could feasibly do those without doing a private moment. It could be your first thing. You could start with the communing with nature. It just wouldn't be that good. It seems that private moment should be first. And the others can more or less go in a certain order, but they don't have to. But it starts, the practice here starts with first relaxation on your own time. You figure out how to relax. And, there's lots of ways actually that you can be taught to relax, but you got to learn to relax if you want to have a successful private moment, or you're going to be a nervous wreck up there. Man, is that going to be a struggle. And then what? Then what's the private moment? You're in a room. I don't think we've ever done one outside. You're in a room and you have audience members, audience of your peers, people on a similar path to you that can give you good assessment about, what you're doing. And here we have IMC Nation. So 32 guys have moved across state lines to Las Vegas. And not all 32 will be there. Maybe like 10, 12, I don't know. But not all of them. And we have a big room and good cameras and mics and TV screen and everything. And the guy will set up a little stage for himself. Some props, maybe some things from home, whatever. And then timer set for 15 to 20 minutes, depending on the person. And we all sit in silence and watch this person live. They just live and pretend we're not there. And as they do that, tension is revealed to the person. They have tension that they've never been quietly evaluated or quietly observed since they were a baby and not even aware. So they've never been just quietly observed on their own and given feedback about their beingness because they were actually working on their beingness. Again, this is later in the stage of personal development. You got to be aware of so much to even seek or desire to improve your beingness, your presence, your social presence. So as you do this, it deconditions it's called acculturation, basically how culture conditioned you. So it's kind of a circular statement to make. It deconditions your habits, your social habits, your breathing habits, your posture habits, slowly in some cases, but it will depend on your feedback and then whatever your awareness becomes aware of as you do the exercise. But any awareness you gain is awareness you didn't have, and you were acting out of a habit learned, and it's under your awareness. You're not aware that you have that habit. So you become aware of your social habits. Or better, you become aware of your beingness habits. Your social habits will become more obvious when we're in field. In field is when we go out. And then when we debrief about it the next day, talk about, what it was like our night out the night before. And that is this path of deconditioning and realizing the truth of the success and failure of our habits socially. It's a good way to put it, right? We're deconditioning and becoming aware of the success or failure of our habits, socializing and mating. And it's very, very important, this thing success, meaning just the measurement of what are you going for? And then we need references because somebody might say, well, I'm going for it to be happy. And then say, I am happy. I'm happy in my life. And it's like, okay, well, maybe you need somebody outside of you to point out that you're frowning, that you sound down, that everything about your expression doesn't appear happy. If we asked a bunch of strangers to evaluate just based on your sound and body and word choice and everything, are they happy? Now, the problem is most people are slaves, and they're slaves in ways they don't even know they're slaves. That's the slavery of it. Most of the slaves think they're not slaves. And good luck convincing them. You don't need to convince them. The only thing that will convince the person is their own awareness, their own observation. But there's so much muck in the way. They'll interpret one thing another way. That's why they'll interpret we go to strip clubs and it's like, well, you worship strippers. Bro. I'd have to explain it in a certain way so that you get it. And it's like talking to a baby. It's like goo goo gaga, talking to a kindergartner about it. And honestly, it's not worth it to explain it to people. If you don't see it, I don't need to explain it to you. Come for other reasons. Learn the obvious result of game here, the ability to communicate, influence, the brotherhood, the integrity, the logic in the ethics, and how everything is explained. And it's not just AZD, it's a mastermind also that contributes. It's mostly AZD, but people have explanations of their own discoveries. They have questions that create new understandings about things that were people, just probably hasn't been talked about ever on Earth. We're at the cutting edge of the human consciousness here on this Earth. And, success is the proof. So the private moment, relaxation, and living naturally, organically in front of an audience of your peers and hearing the feedback, especially our feedback. You get a bunch of LGBTQ liberals in front of you, and they're going to give you some weird ass feedback. Get a bunch of elderly people pre-World War II, black and white, fucking wrinkled, and they're going to give you totally weird feedback about. So who are the people you're getting feedback from is very important in this. And if you do it right, then you get feedback on that path in the direction you want to go with your evolution. And that's really rewarding because you want to go in that direction. So you get better at that. And it's an essential ingredient to what we do here. It makes sense with all the evolutionary psych and everything and what's attractive and seductive to women. Because when you can calibrate to that, now your beingness at a deep, deep level becomes molded and tuned to the kind of expression that's attractive and aesthetic, as an artist. Beautiful. Beautiful, not just because like a female figure beautiful, but beautiful because the rhythm of your movement, the rhythm of your speech, the quality of your expression, your posture, your color scheme, your wardrobe, your everything, your emphasis in things, everything becomes captivating and gripping. And that's essential in this game because you're capturing the attention of a woman and then guiding it, leading it. She submits to your leadership. You can't force her. That's different. That's a different kind of submission. That's not what I'm talking about. You submit by dominating her mindset because yours is so much greater. Hers just, it goes into your mind. It's like your sperm goes into her egg. Her mind goes into your mind. That's how it happens. Yin yang. But not into my mind like I'm always thinking about her. Into my mind in the sense that my understandings of the world are so big. You need to fit yourself in my paradigm. I have an understanding of the world you need to fit in. I'm not going to fit into your understanding. I am greater than you. That'd be like the sperm coming along and the egg is so tiny and it tries to go inside of it. That's a woman trying to get with a man who has a bigger paradigm about life than her. She needs a man with a bigger, better paradigm. Mindset. It's all inner game. And it's what works. Okay, everybody. So long explanation for the private moment. Amazing. Amazing. So we have a private moment today. Sultan's doing a private moment. And I distributed the link to all the people that are on the daily class. So get on the daily classes if you want. 10 a.m. Straight game, mastermind, ethics of players. The science of dating for warriors. For urban monks. For unplugged bad motherfuckers. That's the daily class. It's called The Game. It's $97 a month. You get a ton of recordings and all the information you need to become the top player in your neighborhood, in your area. Nobody will have an advantage over you when you have this information. And that's the beauty of it. You could be anywhere in the world and learn this information. And it'll change how you behave, and that'll change your results. And that's what it's all about, results. That's why 32 men moved across state lines in the last 6 months. And most of it was in the first 2 months. Just pick up and move, change everything, inform everybody, because the shit works. You could deny it, but 32 people don't deny it. I mean, that more than 32 people deny IMC Nation, but there's they'd have to, because if it worked, then why aren't they in it? There's a reason why they're not in it. Because it's a very touchy subject to get better dating and women. And all of the components that get to really getting better, not like, remember the guy that gets that he's the celebrity and he gets girls and it makes sense why girls would go for the rich guy or the famous or the powerful or the bodybuilder or whatever. It makes sense why certain dating coaches are more popular and more widely accepted. They're more politically correct, easy to digest. They fit in the paradigm of why people think men should get women or women should get with those men. And so when you see a paradigm shifting anomaly of human culture, you got to push that away or join. And when you join, it invalidates everything you've done and everything you thought you knew. And that's uncomfortable. Yeah. And people act real dumb when they get uncomfortable. Again, the private moment. You learn to relax in front of an audience of your peers. So you notice discomfort inside of you. Very, very important for this game to notice discomfort. So Tony K is moving to Vegas. That's great. Get on weekly dues. I'm sure after a few months, you will be asked if you want to do a private moment. You'll learn this game, learn to calibrate, tighten your lifestyle, and it's inevitable. And that's amazing. Born again after that first private moment. Okay, everybody, I'll see you on the next one.